seconded by Mr. McCarthy. So you've all had a chance to look them over. Any questions, queries, qualms, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. We're now down to item number 2, which is public comment. And as always, let us defer to Mr. Waldi, who helps us organize this part of the meeting.
Great. If you are interested in participating in public comment, you may do so either in person by approaching the podium or on Zoom by using the raise hand feature or dialing *9 if you're on the telephone. However, I believe before we get to public comment, we are actually going to invite up our first member of the public, which is Glenn Kuchar, who's here representing the Mass Association of School Committees. So the podium is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, members of the school committee. It's nice to see many of you again, and I want to wish you all well in the year to come. I'm here for a very special reason, representing the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. Every year, we recognize a member of the legislature who has been outstanding in the field of advocacy for public education and in so many other issues that involve students in schools. This year's representative has been a leader in the fight for legislation to combat hate, has been a very strong advocate of our public education legislation, and a good friend of school committees across the state. And it's no accident. When we make this award, we usually ask the host community if we can make the presentation in the district. And our legislator of the year in the House began his career as a member of the Malden School Committee. So I'd like to welcome our legislator of the year and ask you to join me in recognizing Stephen Altrino as legislator of the year in the House.
Well, I didn't prepare anything, and I wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the school committee. As Glenn said, this is where I started, and this is where my heart really is. It's always been about the children, no matter what we do. And when I was promoted to vice chairman of the Joint Committee on Education by Speaker Mariano, it really took me back, because that's where my passion is. It's with our children. Nothing can be more important than making sure that our future has the tools they need to succeed. Thank you for your work, and thank you for this recognition and actually allowing me to come here tonight as part of your meeting. Thank you.
Not so fast, Mr. Altrino. If you would return, the school committee has prepared, how many of these do you have now?
I'm sorry?
How many of these do you have now? We're always recognizing your efforts, because it's just not education. You're one of the best that makes Malden go. So on behalf of the entire school committee, we have prepared this citation, and it reads as follows. On this day, the city of Malden congratulates Steve Altrino on receiving the Massachusetts Association of School Committees Legislator of the Year Award. This award recognizes a representative for contributions to and service on behalf of Massachusetts public schools, children, and families. We are not surprised to hear that Steve was honored, as he has long been a dedicated public servant as a member of the Malden School Committee, the City Council, and now as a state representative. Steve is without exception one of the hardest working individuals around, and always puts Malden and its residents first. Again, congratulations to Steve on this extraordinary accomplishment, and we thank him for all his hard work on behalf of the residents of the Malden community. Very truly yours, the Malden School Committee.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the school committee will be in a brief recess. We just want to go down and congratulate Legislator of the Year.
Anywhere where I can shoot over the podium, so you're good. Yeah, I think we gotta. Do you guys wanna just?
Hopefully they're not taping this.
Go for him first, yeah.
Yeah, if everyone gets up on the stairs, it'd be good. Oh, there you go. Awesome.
All right, now I'll snag a couple. Beautiful, thank you.
You're gonna speak on behalf of the members?
Yeah.
'Cause we wanna-
Steve, on your way out the door, I told the chairman when we were asking to take this out of order in public comment that it was incredibly appropriate that we were all here tonight, particularly because you started as a member of the school committee. And I asked for permission just to say a couple of easy things, which, I think in many ways your work on the Malden School Committee laid the passion and the foundation for what you currently do as a legislator. You were a leader in the Mass Association of School Committees for many years, though, because I remember 15 years ago when you brought me to my first MASC annual meeting, where it was clear there that Steve was not only respected as an educator, but as a leader throughout the state on issues that affected children and families. And years later, I think we see it play out in the types of legislation and the effective legislator that you are, prioritizing not just a student's education, but the whole child. In your work from housing to nutrition to economic justice and the way in which our schools are funded. So without taking up too much time, we just wanted to say, Steve, thank you for being you and doing what you do, and we're very lucky to have you working on our behalf. Now you can go. You've done your time in these meetings. You did indeed.
Thank you again. All right, so back to the agenda. We are at public comment. I think you've outlined how people can get involved. So public comment is now open.
So I've got a hand up from Janelle DeWitz and Kimberly Gillette.
Okay.
All right, Janelle and Kim, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, we're here.
Awesome.
Go right ahead.
So as a family, I think we're pretty vocal in the school committee and otherwise. And as a parent who sends lunch with their kids, I wish I could send them to school without a lunch some days and hope that school would be better, but it's not. And that comes straight from them. And I think that's really the source that we need to hear from is from them. So I've got my 7th and 8th grader here to share with you, but I want to say thank you to Jen Spatafor for really getting this going and making this a huge priority because the parents have been vocal and it's obvious that we need healthier choices, more a stable expectation for our kids for a number of reasons. And I don't think anyone's blind to that. I think we're all in agreement. But as far as contracts and things go, there's logistics. So thank you so much for pushing this along and making it happen. And I have Brennan O'Shaughnessy here in the 7th grade from BB.
Hello, I'm Brennan O'Shaughnessy, and I'm in the 7th grade BB. And sometimes at lunch, I will see kids rather not eat than eat the school lunch.
And also we have Ace from the 8th grade at BB here.
Adding on to what Brennan said, some kids at school concentrate on what they're eating for lunch and end up not paying attention to school. And when they do get to lunch, when they don't eat the lunch, it ends up affecting their learning because when you eat, it helps you concentrate. And you might be grouchy during the day if you don't eat. So it won't help anything if you're not eating lunch. And 8th graders need more lunch than kindergartners because they get the same exact serving. So I don't think it's fair because 8th graders are way bigger. I have seen the 8th graders in my school. They're like high schoolers. So I think they need more servings than just kindergarteners. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our family is fully in support of whatever we need to do as a city to make sure that our kids are getting healthier lunches, reliable menus that we can all count on. Thank you.
Thank you, and your timing is perfect because we are set to go out to bid for this service in the coming months. The contract actually ends June 30th, 2022, and thanks to Ms. Spatafora, she will be leading the school committee efforts on that, and I think we just found 2 students who will also be inviting to help us evaluate the proposals that come in. So Ms. Spatafora will be in touch with you both. And we'll let you know the next steps, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we will rotate to an in-person speaker. I believe we have. Awesome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Christensen, Superintendent Noriega Murphy, school committee members. My name is Patrick Fitzgerald. I live at 45 Westboro Road here in the city. I have 2 public school elementary students. I also am the current president of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I'm here before you to address an issue that came to my attention that most unfortunately, at least one of the K-8 schools this year thus far has been in the unfortunate position of having to pull special education students to fill general education substitution roles on any given day. As you all can appreciate, what that arises to essentially could be interpreted as an illegal withholding of special education services pursuant to the IDEA. I want to thank Assistant Superintendent McDonald who immediately addressed this situation, and it is my understanding that it's clear to everyone that that is not to happen going forward. I'm not here to shame or blame any building administrator because I know and appreciate everything that they've been doing over the past 20 months and continue to do each and every day based on the exponentially increasing needs, particularly social emotional needs of students that continue to arise each day. So I can only assume that this was done when they felt that they had no other option, which is what brings me here before you today, is the complete lack of resources that these building administrators have if they had to come to this decision. I think as a district, it's not a good look. It's not who we are. I know that this district prioritizes and values special education services and delivery. I'm not here, again, to profess that I know what the answers are in the short term. Obviously, I think what we need to do, because long gone are the days of calling up that hourly per diem parent who comes in to substitute at 6 a.m., we have to invest and reallocate our paraprofessional positions throughout the district, whether it's within the building, within the district, floating positions, or sharing with what we have right now. I know there's an increasing need across the board, but this needs to be a priority, and whatever the school committee can do within its authority to assist the district in building administration is much needed at this point in time. In the long term, I suggest that we have to look into allocating additional resources, either through the budget or collective bargaining, to hire additional paraprofessional services for this and other needs within the district, including competitive and market rate salaries for these positions in order to attract qualified candidates. This district has already demonstrated through this year, as I've heard, a commitment to professional development for paraprofessional positions. We need to leverage that commitment to attract these qualified candidates. So again, I want to again appreciate all that the building administrators do. I'm not here to criticize, but to highlight the need for the district and the school committee to invest in paraprofessional positions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will take one from our Zoom and then come right back to the in-person. So next up, we have Amanda Linehan.
Great, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I also wanted to join in and just chime in favor of Ms. Spatafora's effort to take a critical eye toward the school lunch program and to put that current contract back out to bid, as the mayor said we're going to do. I think we can improve upon what we have. And as a community member and a BB parent, I'm obviously I feel really fortunate that we have a no-cost lunch and breakfast option. And I think it's been a blessing to our family, both before the pandemic, as well as during the remote school year. And now again this year, there were many days that we picked up that school lunch to go while we were learning remotely, because it helped my daughter feel connected to BB and her friends and just the whole community she was missing. And we picked right back up this fall, buying lunch again. It's something that she loves and is excited about doing. Unfortunately, we have observed that the quality and the reliability of the menu has been deteriorating. And as a city, I know we can do better. And I'm really thankful for Ms. Spatafora's efforts to take that on. I think given our diverse demographics, I'd love to see some more flexibility and some more culturally competent options. I know other parents have shared with me as an elected official that they'd love to have more vegetarian and vegan options available. I'm sure there's a scale of what we can provide and what we can afford, but we just don't know what that costs until we go ahead and do that public procurement process. So just wanted to speak in favor of it. It's a huge issue that I hear about from constituents, and it's important to me as a BB parent as well. And thank you so much for taking that on.
Thank you.
Transition to in-person.
Okay, hi. My name is Carrie Lalonde. I apologize for my broken mask on the way over. It broke. I had a whole thing written here to talk about school foods. I have 2 children in the Forestdale School who are very unhappy with the school lunches. I graduated in 2017 as a health coach, and I kind of dove in. I was inspired to see what I could do to help the school. I was looking at access to water and nutrition in the school foods. I talked a lot to Omar, who used to be the point person for Whitson's, and we had a lot of discussions. He made a lot of promises that he never followed through with, and I know that he's not there anymore, but this company as a whole, their kind of motto was, we need to make money. And I talked to him about the sugar levels in the food, and I talked to him about the lack of nutrition, and he's like, well, we have to serve something that they will eat. So I feel like that's a very, very low bar, because you could just give them a bowl of Skittles, and that's what they would eat that too. I mean, some of these meals had more sugar than they were supposed to have in one day. For instance, the pizza sauce had half the daily sugar, just the sauce. I mean, no one's counting that as their sugar intake for the day. There was just small opportunities for us to do that, and he was unwilling to budge. So I have no faith in this company. Right now there's a parfait, which sounds like a good healthy option, has yogurt in it, but the sugar count is 53 grams. The sugar count that a kid should have in one day is 16 grams of sugar. So we need to find a company that has health in mind. I know I'm confident with Jennifer Spatafora's efforts to move along and get the surveys out to the kids, because we do need to know what they'll eat, but it's not really, we need to find a company who already has figured out how to feed kids. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what all the kids will eat, but we need to find a company that has figured that out. And I'm happy that we're taking a deep dive. I'll skip most of what I was going to say because I feel like we're all kind of on the same page with this. But if I were a teacher, I'd be very upset with the fact that these breakfasts serve so much sugar. I would not want to teach these kids after they've had that much sugar in their system. It must be horrible with the lack of recess time we have and all that. So I won't even allow my children to eat the school food. But half my budget goes towards groceries to fill it. I would love, like the other mother said, to be able to just say, hey, an easy morning because you'll grab breakfast at school. We don't have to pack lunches. This would be huge for us. So I just wanted to show my support. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why we're starting earlier. Typically, with a contract ending in June, which most do, you'd start after the first of the year, February, March, but we're starting next month. So we understand.
Okay, thank you.
All right, one last time, if anyone would like to speak via Zoom, it's raise hand. And actually, while we wait, we can take another in person.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Noriega Murphy, and members of the school committee. My name is Debgiswaldo. I'm president of the Malden Education Association, which now does have a home and an address that I can give at school committee meetings. We're now located at 77 Exchange Street in Malden. I'm here tonight because we are at a make it or break it moment for many school staff and students. And in regard to our staff, it's in particular to those who teach, assist, or service students directly. It's become even more difficult with staff who are pulled regularly from their assigned positions to substitute where there's no coverage. And obviously, as someone who has worked in the school setting for my entire adult life, I understand that sometimes that is inevitable. But in the times that we're in right now, it's just really making things even more difficult than they already are. Educators are working really hard to effectively understand and work to address the ways that the pandemic has disrupted students' academic and developmental experiences. They're working really hard to figure out what post-lockdown teaching really looks like, because yes, we were back in for a while last year in a hybrid model, but now we're back in every single day. And educators are really trying to figure out what that, and I don't like that I'm about to use this phrase, but what that new normal looks like, because we know that what we're doing now cannot look the same as what it was before the pandemic began. And they're trying really hard to create a path forward and a vision for this path forward. Our students, our educators, and all of our school staff need more support right now. I can't emphasize that enough or come up with a more fancy way to say that. Everyone needs more support. The students at all ages, all grade levels, and all of our educators and school staff. I'm here to request that we really think about what we do during the day and how it looks so that students and educators both can receive the social and emotional support that they really, really need right now. The boat that we're on is listing, and we need to do something about it as soon as possible. The support of both students and staff is critical, and it is not an either-or situation. Maybe the solution for support is something really straightforward and simple, or maybe it's something creative. I don't know what the answer to that is right now, but whatever it is, we need to do something for the emotional and physical well-being of both the students and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and it looks like our last public comment is on Zoom. Eden Garhart Smith. Can you hear us, Eden?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes. Hi, I'm Eden Garhart Smith. I live at 16 Quarry Road in Malden. I think everybody has spoken well, and I know Carrie came out to speak on, it sounds like school committee and Jen Spatafor has got doing the lunches, but I want to support that as well. But I zoomed in to just comment on the high school meeting.
that's happening for prospective or incoming 8th graders, and would really like to express that I think it should be opened up to 7th graders, like sooner rather than later in general. I mean, I know Atticus came home in the 3rd grade and he's like, I want to go to the Voc because my friends are going to the Voc, and it's adorable. But I think I would like, as a parent, to give him some education on what that means. And I honestly don't know what that means. And he's got to make that decision, or we have to make that decision sooner rather than later. I mean, personally, right now, do I want him to go to Wakefield? Not really. I mean, I sent him to Linden, which probably wasn't the best choice in the sense that I've been driving across the city for 8 years now, or maybe not 8. There was a bus for some of those. But yeah, I don't really want to go to Wakefield, like even just for parent-teacher conferences or stuff like that. I would rather stay in the community. But at the same time, like I value what some of the Voc offers and wish there was summer programming or after-school programming that he could have where he would experience some of the things that it's to offer. I just don't feel like it has to be all or nothing. And I think, I know it's beyond you, but I really don't like this all or nothing that we kind of put our kids in at age 14 to make these kind of decisions. I think they're hard for a college student to decide what their major is, let alone a 13 and 14-year-old to make these kind of assessments on what they want to be when they grow up or kind of make these decisions. So anything you can do, even if it doesn't hit Atticus for Drake, I think we should stop and really pause. And hopefully if there's any way to incorporate those kind of activities in their education, I can only say I would appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Eden, just so you know, we got a big thumbs up from our high school principal, Chris Mastrangelo, that 7th graders are more than welcome to attend that night as well.
Thank you.
And it looks like that's it for public comment.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Very helpful. Now let's go to our superintendent for her report.
You, and we are going to hear from Lenny Ayovino, who is going to present some data for the district.
1 second, Mr. Iovino.
Thank you very much, Dr. Noriega Murphy. As of this past Friday, the total enrollment in the Malden Public Schools has reached 6,313. That is a substantial increase over where we began in August. It's an increase of 543 students. Roughly, it is exactly 110 students more than where we were last year at this time. The largest increases by grade level were in pre-K with a pickup of 82 students and in kindergarten with an increase of 169 students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Iovino. And just from the chair, if you could add this context going forward, still lower than pre-pandemic, correct?
Still lower than pre-pandemic, but not by a lot.
But not by a lot, yeah. Okay, got it. All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Iovino. Now back to our superintendent.
Thank you. So if we go to slide number 5, you can actually see from last year, and also in the different months, we have the comparative data. And you can see the numbers have been increasing steadily. So we hopefully we will have more students. By the end of January, we hope that enrollment will increase. We can go to the next slide. This is the enrollment per school. You can see that every school has been increasing since we opened our enrollment. Since August 25th to now, you can just go over each of the numbers. We are working on building the capacity on the schools, trying to find out what is actually the building capacity to start making projections for next school year. So there's an analysis that we are doing with the city, trying to see what is the class sizes and also how many students can be in the schools where they can still have a space to move around and also the cafeteria spaces. So we are doing an analysis on all our schools. We have attendance is steady, so it's 92%, and you can see the attendance for every single school. High school usually, typically in other districts too, is a little bit low, but it is actually still within the range of high schools. So it is, we are very proud of 89, even though we would love to have it 100, but we know high school students sometimes make different decisions. Now we are going to, I'm going to spend some time in here because we do know that there are a lot of issues with students' behaviors. It's increasing in these schools. We also notice that they need a lot of support. We are implementing the progressive restorative practices. Suspensions is not always an answer. We are trying to make sure that we have circles and trying to make sure that we understand the behaviors and put safety plans in place. We have been able to work with social workers. School committee last year made the commitment to have 2 social workers in the schools, which is outstanding because it's helping us through some transitions. We also noticed that the adults are having a hard time with the behaviors of the students. We have increased some support for staff members where we have created crisis prevention interventions for adults. We are making sure that in one particular school where we notice that there's an increase in incidents, we deploy some of our partners, such as Riverside and ESS, to run workshops on how to take care of themselves, how to work with classroom management, and how to work on crisis when they themselves, with the adults, are the ones having a hard time. Truly, truly understand how hard it is now with the new normal, and I appreciate that when Debgiswaldo say that, we have to adapt to new ways of doing things, which is very challenging. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we are going to take care of our adults. So if they're okay, our students will be okay. We are implementing the progressive discipline. We understand that it's not only the students sometimes that are demonstrating some behaviors. We also have some adults, and we are still implementing the progressive discipline in some cases in here. We are going to continue monitoring the data and attendance, including adults' attendance, because if teachers are not in the classroom, it's really challenging to engage students in their learning. I appreciate every single person who has been stepping in to cover for classes, because the priority is to have an adult in the classroom. It might not be the ideal situation, but in cases where we cannot find paraprofessionals, we cannot find substitutes, we cannot find people that we are trying to hire, we truly appreciate that. So thank you, including to the directors who this week have to go and step in covering classes. We are also trying to make sure that we are working very closely with the Malden Police Department to make sure that we are going to run workshops on how to take care of students' behavior in terms of just conversations and building relationships. So thank you to the principals, because it's not an easy task to be in the building covering classes, and at the same time the assistant principals. So thank you all of you for covering the classes. We are going to move into the approved vaccination for our youngest students. The City of Malden Health Department and CHS, we are working together to find out how we can start doing this in the schools or to do it on Saturdays. So very soon you're going to start finding posters, and we are going to send you information about the next steps. We continue doing analysis of our existing systems. We are looking at the code of conduct in a better way to repair the harm by doing circles instead of, once again, suspending students. And we are just trying to make sure that we are going to listen to everybody's voices, including students, family members, and we encourage teachers to continue sending emails saying that they want to be part of this committee. At this moment, we have one of the school principals who is going to do a presentation, and this is Ms. Van Huyn, principal of the Selenwood Elementary School. Thank you.
One second there, Principal Van. There we go.
That's not my,
That's me. Sorry, those were
Sorry.
some celebrations of students playing music, reading, Zumba nights. The classrooms, teachers are doing an amazing job creating these learning environments where the students feel like it's a place to be and feel safe. Next, that's her. Thank you.
Great. Good evening. My name is Van Wyn, and I am the principal of Salem Woods School. This is my 4th year as principal, my 9th year at Salem Woods School, and my 22nd year in the Malden Public Schools. It is my honor and privilege to work alongside my 2 amazingly hardworking assistant principal. Next slide. Ms. McGonigal and Ms. Jane Wright, and our entire Salem Woods staff. I could not do my job without all of them working alongside me each and every day. The real heroes are our staff. Next slide. Since I'm only given a few minutes to talk, you can read about our Salem Wood highlights of this year. I will touch upon our PBIS. 2 years ago, our district embarked on the PBIS initiative. The buy-in for our staff and our student was amazing. We got ourselves a mascot. It's the Salem Wood Shark. Why? Because sharks are always moving forward. Hence, our Salem Wood School is always moving forward. As you can see, our PBIS shark stands for safe, helpful, attentiveness, respect, and kind. When our school closed in March due to the COVID pandemic, we were able to get in touch with all 100% of our students and families. This is all due to the hard work of our staff. The other highlight that I want to touch upon is our, next slide please, grade 6 to 8 student government board, which is student-ran with teacher-led. It meets weekly, and students' voice and leadership. Students are active participant to change, advocacy, and ownership of our school. And the next slide is our upcoming events. As you can see, we had a really wonderful fall festival on October 15. Next slide, please. These are some of our highlights. As you can see, one of our favorite picture is the 3 young ladies in the hallway. You know, in closing, I want to thank all of you again for allowing me to share our school with you. On behalf of our Salem Woods staff, we welcome you to stop by anytime and visit with us. We are committed to our students, families, and each other. We take pride in what we do day in and day out. I am honored and lucky to work alongside all the amazing staff that I can call my Salem Wood family. Thank you. And the next slide.
Next slide. Yeah.
And this is our goals for 2021, 2022. And then lastly, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we are going to hear from Pamela McDonald from Student Services. One more, yes.
We have a 1504 coordinator that started this week. We have one more that we're hoping to start in the next few weeks so that they will be assigned to schools, and we will let people know which schools they're assigned to so that this way families will have a consistent point of contact throughout the district for questions and concerns. We met the preschool collaborative that we've started this year has met a few times in the fall, and we're offering a couple of workshops for families. One is coming up on November 17th on behavior of preschoolers. We're also going to do a 3-part series about early literacy in the month of January, and we are also working on a play date in December as well as a preschool fair in January where families can come and see all of the options that Malden has for preschool. So that way they have a full array of options that fits their needs, because we know all of the Malden families have different needs when it comes to child care and preschool, and we want to support all of them to make sure all of our 3 to 5-year-olds gets a great start, and we want to support all of the preschools in Malden to getting our kids off on the right foot. So we're very excited for our preschool collaborative. We did have families that deferred compensatory services from last spring and summer, and we have started that up in the fall. Any family that feels they are still owed, get in touch with us. A special thank you to Marilyn and Amin as well as the mayor's office and Mary Louise in your office, Mayor Christensen, as well as you and Tony Mertz for helping to get the AAC boards up and running. Those are a great addition to our playgrounds. They are a lot like our children's AAC devices in the classroom, so it's a great complement. And the next steps, the only thing I have is that we do have some resignations as well as some staff out for different medical reasons. I think what a lot of people have found is that we've deferred medical care because of the pandemic, and we do have a increased number of people out for various reasons, as well as maternity leaves. So we do have some staff missing, and we are keeping track. We are aware of it. We are trying to be proactive and contact families, and we absolutely are committed to making up anything that we missed. And if parents have questions, please get a hold of us.
Thank you. Now we are going to hear from our nurse, Patricia Tremendosi.
This is current active cases that are also noted on the Malden Public School website under the COVID dashboard. That's as of Friday. Updates, the test and stay option is in the in-school testing is now available at each school. Originally we had just had one school, but now we have the staff that we can offer it at every school. This is the testing that's done before school for students who are identified as close contacts in school. The vaccination clinic for eligible students has been completed in our school. CHA is encouraging those who are eligible to attend the weekly Wednesday clinics at 195 Canal Street from 3 to 6:30 p.m. No pre-registration is required for that, and that's also open for the 5 to 11 students that are now eligible. COVID dashboard is updated every Friday with the active cases in our school. The weekly pool testing began the week of October 12th. Most schools have been collected over a 2-day period, and there'll be no pool testing the week of Thanksgiving. We have increased the enrollment across the schools for the in-school testing, but it still does remain open and anybody can enroll at any time. The registration link is on the COVID dashboard. The mask mandates in our schools have been extended to January 15th per DESE. And we're planning, in the planning stages now with the Board of Health to do the 5 to 11 vaccine clinics, most likely on the weekends.
Thank you. We're going to hear from our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, Tony Mertz.
Good evening.
Good
We
evening.
don't have many updates, except that water bottle filling stations are at every school. At least one by the cafeteria. The second one is by the gym. 3 of our schools are done. The other 4 schools, we're waiting on, they'll be done by next week, the other remaining schools. So we had all the roughing done, so all the plumbing's been done, all the electrical's been done, and now we're just waiting for the stations to be hung. So Eric Rubin and his team will be doing that. Then we have 5 more on order. We should get those by beginning of December to continue doing that at all the schools.
Good.
We're still in need of after-school program teachers and staff, but right now, that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we are going to hear from Erin Craven, Director of School Counseling, Testing, and Academic Support.
Good evening. Just a few updates from last month. We embarked on the PSAT, SAT, and a knowledgeable at MHS a few weeks ago. And as you can see, we tested over 1,050 students for free on these tests, which was amazing. And our 9th grade students had a robust morning of SEL, sort of connecting to the high school, connecting to your academics, activities planned for them. So it was a good morning all around. Continuing FAFSA support planning, as I'm sure a student representative can tell you, that is a big deal right now. And our counselors are going to have outside of school hours time, and evening time for support, as well as a dedicated U Aspire person in the high school just to provide support with that financial aid processes. New information, we had a student job fair at MHS just a week ago. And we had over 85 students who came into the, well, they were supposed to go to the courtyard. It was the day we had the terrible storms, so it was, we went into the gallery. We had Starbucks there, the one that's right down the street, and they met with many students. Legoland did on-site interviews with students, so it was pretty excellent. We hope to do that again in a larger format in the spring at the high school. We are hosting grade 8 move-up days coming up soon. Each middle school will have its own day, so we do not cross-pollinate students at this time. And they will get to tour the high school, have lunch in that cafeteria, which I think is great. And we will have opportunities for them to have a panel with students that went to their middle school and some other fun activities. And I will say we will look to expand that to the 7th grade and expand those transition opportunities as we've really solidified the 8th grade transition activities. As that person, I think it was Eden, had mentioned, we look to expand that to the 7th grade because it is a multi-year thing. We do have upcoming senior post-secondary planning night Wednesday evening through a Zoom link, and that will be, again, geared towards people heading into post-secondary, transitioning, and all the options that we hope to provide our students for successful times after Malden High. And then upcoming in a couple weeks, 8th grade Caregivers MHS Info Night, which we will change to 7th and 8th grade Caregivers MHS Info Night. Anyone is welcome, the more the merrier, 5th, 6th, that is through Zoom. And then coming up tomorrow, we have the MCAS retest for November, which, if the committee will remember, students were given the option to take their cohort test in the fall of November as opposed to being forced to come in the spring of 10th grade. So we have a large number of students who are embarking on that this week.
Thank you. Ms. Dorothy is not here today, so I'm going to give the report on her behalf. And you're going to go next slide. Thank you. We have been working with Aspen with the enrollment configuration. The target is that December 1st, we're going to be able to have live student registration, so we're going to send more information to families, and we just hope that Aspen will be working, and on our network also will be continue working as the capacity of people enrolling students online will go starting on December 1st. We are looking at different policies, at the enrollment policy. We are also working with the Center for Restorative Justice. We want to pilot that in here, trying to make sure that we are going to increase the students' voices while we do the revision of our code of conduct for Malden Public Schools. We are also waiting for the grants to release the funds so we can start with the diversity and equity interviews, and at the same time with getting the community ready to talk about issues, how we can actually diversify our schools in terms of staffing. We are going to start our community meetings with diversity and equity November 15 and December 13 at 10 o'clock a.m. at 6 p.m. via Zoom. So if you're interested, please go to our website. We are also looking at how to launch the professional learning communities on culturally responsible teaching and the brain. So there will be more information about opportunities where you can join us in these PLCs. And we are looking into the Welcome Center building capacity files per school. Once again, that is attached to enrollment to see what is the capacity of the buildings. And that's it for enrollment. Now we are going to hear from Assistant Superintendent Emilise Peña.
Good evening. So I want to start with some updates. We've submitted 2 grants for our homeless population. So one was the Homeless Children and Youth Grant, and the other was the McKinney-Vento Grant. And a big thank you to Ms. Magras and Tony for helping us get those in. We also submitted the Targeted Assistant Grant for our Forestdale School with 1 section that is still going to be submitted in the next 2 days. We also completed a successful 5-district professional development equity-themed on November 2nd with several of our Malden Public School teachers actually presenting at that professional development. We are partnering with Varsity Tutors. They're going to be offering 500 hours of tutoring after school. And we are able to increase the number of hours to 1,000 if the demand is there, or even higher if the demand is there. We are also excited to announce that we have hired Ms. Kara Hovanation as our new K-5 STEM director. She was the math coach at the Salemwood School. She is continuing to support the Salemwood School until we're able to replace her there, but we're just happy that she has accepted the job and she has already started supporting in the director role. In terms of new information, we are excited to partner with Northeastern University, who is doing a research with retirees, mentoring and doing like after-school tutoring of kindergarten students. And we were able to watch a video of what this tutoring looks like. And so we're really excited to offer this opportunity to our kindergarten students. It's not too many, only 50 will be able to participate, but at least it's 50 students that will be getting 6 weeks of tutoring that they wouldn't otherwise. And then I want to give a thanks to both Charlie and Doug for collaborating with Mr. Hammersley to really develop a program to increase our awareness in our alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs educational program. And then next steps, we were able to do a half day of PD, all of the directors and program managers with Dr. Noriega Murphy, and we're all really excited to get started on a program of study for all our K-8 schools. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to hear from Jennifer McCabe, Director of English Learner Education on Title III.
Hi, good evening. I just have an update about the increased enrollment for our English learners. Next slide. So we've increased English learners upwards to 124 new students, and that's a lot of level 1 and level 2 students, which would be classified as newcomers. So next slide. And what that means, it impacts K-8 specifically because teaching level 1 and 2 students requires additional hours and support and skills. So we're working on this internally to do an audit of our current protocol and structure of our EL program. And we're working with the Department of Education to really upgrade the current practice. But as Mr. Weldi had asked last meeting, I put the number of certified ESL teachers at each K-8 school, and then below is the high school, but the video Zoom chat is covering it. But we're working with central office, K-8 principals, and actually the whole community because we're trying to attract more teachers to get dual certified for EL certification. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are going to hear from Victoria Mulkern, Director of Literacy and Title I.
Good evening. In the month of October, as you can see from our wonderful pictures, the Title I department held Zumba nights at each of the 5 K-8s. A fun time was had by all. It was so wonderful welcoming our students and families back into the buildings. This month, we're having our family workshops focused on assessment and instructional tech in the mornings outside the schools. 42 members responded to the curriculum adoption survey we sent out last month. We will be connecting with them over the next week or two about next steps in the curriculum adoption process. Teachers across all the K-8s have also been scoring and calibrating their data from the fall writing prompt. We extended the deadline to put their scores into Aspen until this Friday, November 12th. So we will have that data for you at the next school committee meeting. We are also in the process of writing the RFP for our new curriculum, and we are going to send it to vendors for bid in the early winter. The literacy coaches also are now documenting the Title I interventions into Aspen. This will create a more streamlined process for us when we're looking at students to refer to for SST, and also with inter-district transfers with students who transfer schools to better keep a documentation of what literacy interventions they've had in the past. Next steps, we will be analyzing the baseline data from the district-wide writing prompt to plan instructional next steps for our students. We'll be contacting respondents from the curriculum survey to form both a steering committee and a selection committee. And we'll be holding our Title I workshops over the next 2 weeks. Please join us if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we are going to have our amazing Director of Athletics, Charlie Connerfree.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to take the time to give an update on our athletic program and our wellness department. This fall season, we've been lucky enough to see tremendous increase in participation numbers with both middle school sports and high school sports, with nearly 600 student athletes from across the district in grades 7 through 12 participating in a variety of sports offered. Middle school level, we were able to offer a very successful middle school baseball team with 23 student athletes from across the district, and congratulations to them as they were co-champs, finishing 7-2-1. Across one of the major successes we had, and lucky enough, weather-wise, we were able to take advantage of all of our outdoor sports with very minimal disruption, which was great, which led to some successful high school teams. And congratulations to the co-ed field hockey team for making the tournament for the first time in about 15 years with a 500 record. They traveled down to New Bedford in the first round of the state tournament. Congratulations to the boys soccer team, who also qualified and went down to Franklin. And congratulations to our girls volleyball team, who managed to win and ended up making it to the second round of the state tournament and went to Needham High School. Shout out and congratulations to our in-district field hockey coach, Samantha Souza, who's a teacher at the K-4, leading that field hockey team. Also an educator at the high school for the boys soccer team, Coach Jeremiah Smith. And of course, Mr. Dan Jakowski, our PE teacher at the high school, leading the girls volleyball team. The football team, which has struggled a bit, however, very bright future with Coach Exelholm and some very young, promising student athletes, are looking to finish strong. Over the last few weeks, we have a crosstown rivalry coming up this week on Veterans Day, where we will travel literally down the street and play Malden Catholic at 5 p.m. And before the game, we'll honor our veterans. And of course, our 134th meeting between Medford and Malden will take place here on Thanksgiving morning on the 25th at 10 a.m. Also on that day, we will honor our senior cheerleaders and senior football players as they close out their careers at Malden High School. Also like to give a shout out to our athletic trainer, Jen Sturdivant, at the high school level. Fun fact, she is going to be honored later this year as Athletic Trainer of the Year by MASADA, which is the Massachusetts Athletic Directors Association, which is a pretty prestigious honor. So congratulations to her. Quick shout out and thank you to the administrative staff at the high school, Mr. Chris Mastrangelo, Mr. Stephen Frecker, and my assistant, Jeannie Ricardo, for helping safely and successfully complete a full season for the first time since COVID kind of destroyed everything over the last 18 months. Looking ahead, next week, the Golden Tornado Club, our athletic sponsor and booster club, is hosting its biannual Hall of Fame banquet, where we will be inducting 7 former student athletes, very successful student athletes, and of course the 1973 men's ice hockey team. And my favorite part of the year is the Jamboree, the Unified Basketball Jamboree, which we are graciously hosting at the Salemwood Fieldhouse next Tuesday, November 16th. Games are starting at 3:30. Please, if you have some time, stop by. You won't regret it. You'll see some smiling faces of some of our wonderful students at the high school, and we'll be playing host to 7 neighboring school districts. So we're very honored that the Special Olympics Committee has allowed us to do so. And with that being said, we're looking to close out and have a successful winter season ahead of us, and hopefully free of illness and less COVID restraints. So, thank you.
Thank you. What Charlie forgot to say is that we are also planning some spirit weeks in some schools where we will be planning on scheduling some basketball games or volleyball games with staff against students. So next time we are going to report, we might be showing pictures. So anybody who wants to come and join us, please just bring some shorts, sneakers. We will let you know and come and play. So thank you.
Who can we count on to recruit?
Well, what he also failed to mention is the outcome of the Thanksgiving Day game. You can beat Medford.
Yeah, so you want a prediction? Is that what you're asking?
Just that we're going to win.
Yeah, we'll win. So Coach Exelholm, if you're watching, you got some pressure on you. But yes, that is a big game, and we feel confident that Medford High School is a good matchup for us.
Got it.
All joking aside, I think we match up well, and it should be a spirited and fun game as always.
Yes, for sure.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer. All right, let's take some questions for our school superintendent. Any questions of the members? Just press your light. If there's any immediate questions. I know we took in a lot, and we can always contact her offline, but if there are any immediate questions, let's go to Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have many questions because I feel like Dr. Noriega Murphy has done fantastic with these presentations since she's come on board. So my 2 questions I have actually are around, and this may be for Ms. Tremendozi. I was just wondering, on the dashboard that is, that we put up our COVID numbers every week, is there any way to include staff numbers similar to what we're reporting to DESE? When you go onto DESE's website, it has like staff COVID numbers, but I don't see that on our dashboard.
The dashboard is updated weekly.
Yep.
So the numbers that are on there are active cases that we have within the school, so I go in on Friday and update them.
No, what I'm saying is, can we add staff numbers? So if we have staff that have,
So, yeah, so right now we have the total, so if
So that's
it's 10
just-
cases, it includes
Right,
the
it's
students.
active.
But we can try to de-aggregate.
We can actually do that. So what we are going to do is explore how to do it, and in terms of, we will work on that, explore it, and make sure it
Yeah,
happens.
it's fed through a spreadsheet that we changed, so we can work with, we can figure out how to do that.
okay, I mean, we're reporting it to DESE already. Like, if I go onto DESE's website, I can see 2 staff members, you know?
Sometimes
So-
the technical part that we are learning more and more with our website, that we will work later on that one. But yeah, we can make it possible for this week, if, by Friday, yes.
Okay.
Can do it.
Thank
Yes.
you. Hold up, don't walk away yet. And just, I don't know if this is possible, but with us rolling into holidays and people traveling, is there any way to increase pool testing after holidays? Specifically, you know, kids are coming back after
I think
maybe
that we'll
going out of
probably just
state.
continue to do what we do, but we encourage everyone to sign up for it. It's just those that are enrolled are the ones that we pool test, so we can put a call out there to
Yeah,
encourage people to
Maybe
sign
we
up.
can
Like
do
a blast.
I was just gonna say an email blast and ask all the principals to send it out, the link, so that they can, we can get more people to sign up. Because we actually have 2 people in every building doing pool testing, so we have more than enough capacity to test more students. We just need the families to sign up.
To sign up for it. Okay, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waldeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of notes and then 2 questions. One, and I'm just going in order of the presentation, which thank you again, Dr. Noriega Murphy, is a very comprehensive, and the format is really helpful for all of us, I think, and the folks at home. One thing that I really want to take a second and point out, particularly to the parents who are watching tonight, is when you looked at two particular data points that the superintendent mentioned at the beginning. One was the district enrollment per school. And I think it's really important to notice that from the end of August until the end of October, we had upwards of 50 to 100 kids, in some cases 120 kids, who were joining our school communities throughout that first month to 2 months. Now, let's add that on top of, and I know the superintendent really, I think, effectively talked about the increase in dysregulated behaviors, which I think we're seeing from both students and adults. But let's talk a little bit about how much of an impact that makes and what yeoman's work our principals are doing in their schools, our assistant principals are doing in their schools, and our classroom teachers are doing in our schools. And you know, Dr. Kelly Chase last year taught me a phrase, started using the phrase grace in space. And I have taken that and started using that in my interactions in my professional life, in my personal life, in our public life. And I hope that people are still, even though, you know, the pandemic is not over, right? We're still in it. I hope people are still giving each other the grace and the space to work through a lot of these problems, because having 100 students enter your building in the last 2 months is huge. Think about the addition that this adds on to our administrators, but also think about rebuilding classroom communities over and over and over again, and making sure to do so with our students' SEL needs in mind. I don't think we could say thank you enough to the people who are in our schools every day dealing with the challenges that we never hear about. We hear about a lot of challenges, but we also don't hear about a lot of challenges. And I think that's what we really, really need to say thank you to these folks for. And I appreciate the fact that we talk about it, right? Because we are not the only district in Massachusetts who is having, we're not the only district in the United States who's having these problems, particularly around staffing issues, particularly around dysregulated behaviors, but we're talking about it. And we're trying really hard to name the issue and to find ways to address the issue collaboratively, whether it's working with community partners, whether it's working with each other, whether it's having open dialogue with our parents. We're trying. And I thank you so very much for the trying that you're doing. So that was the first note. I really want to say thank you to Principal Van for her presentation. I think what was very clear, not just tonight, but also at their fall festival a couple weeks back, is the community that the Salem Wood School has built is filled with joy and with love, and that's new. Like let's be real, right? The Salem Wood School staff advocates for their kids like no one we've ever seen before. But we know that particularly for a lot of us on the committee and in the public, it has not always been the most open door, welcoming place, and that has very much changed under Van's leadership. And I think we are all extremely appreciative of that, and I think the families were too, because I never would have expected to have seen the amount of families that we saw come that night. Your community is full of love, and it is certainly moving forward. Well, yeah. Yeah. Just a quick note of thanks to Assistant Superintendent McDonald, mostly because I know how hard you've been working on the preschool collaborative, and it's very cool to see that this is not only up and running, but like planning dates. And I know that this has been a priority of the chairs. I know this has been a priority of the superintendents, and it's great to see it happening because I think it will benefit all the early learners in our city. Ms. Spadafora asked my question to Director Tremendozi. One thing that I think is worth noting, and I give special credit to Assistant Superintendent Mertz, who's been really open to talking about this and dealing with the struggle, is we know that what's happening in our after-school program is not working, right? We don't have the adequate staffing. We have tried, and again, it's not just us. Like, we see it in a lot of places. But I think it's important for folks to know, and we saw it happen, I think, between the partnership that Ms. Mertz, the chair, the superintendent, worked out with the YMCA and our Early Learning Center this year, but we know it's not working, and we know that it's something that has to be worked on moving forward. I'm really excited because I see out in the audience our incoming school committee members, Keith Bernard, Don Macklin, and Sharon Zyberg, and I know that Sharon in particular is really excited to work on this issue because we've talked a lot about it, but we know that the after-school issue is real, and it affects our parents on a day-to-day basis, and it is something that we're going to prioritize for the next school year. Very quickly, just two quick notes for our Assistant Superintendent Pena's presentation. One, congratulations to Kara Hovenian, who I think was one of the best hires that this district could have made. And it's very exciting to see us hiring and promoting from within again. And I'm very excited to see all the good that Kara will do for our students and our schools. But I was equally as excited to see, because as a member of the opioid task force with the mayor and working really closely with Paul Hammersley in his roles, not just in Malden Overcoming Addiction, but in his role for the city, what a dramatic shift over the past, 5-6 years. Just the idea that we are having these conversations, that we are trying, it's so catchy to stop the stigma stuff, but we're removing the stigma, right? And we're having these conversations in our schools with our students and our families, and that you all are normalizing it. And there are many families and many students who I think are going to be affected by that. And it's something small, but it's something extraordinarily meaningful, and I think there are going to be a lot of people who are very grateful for that. I've talked too much already, so I'm going to save this question and direct it maybe at the next meeting for Director Mulkern. I would honestly be really curious to hear, and I think you've talked about what your next steps were, but maybe at our next meeting to talk a little bit about what the Curriculum Selection Committee's vision will be and what it will look like, particularly where you had 42, which is huge, I think, 42 community members share some interest in being a part of this, and we want so badly for our community to be engaged and involved, and I'd love to hear maybe at our next meeting what the vision of the committee and the process will be. That would be great. And my last note, I promise, and I'm taking a little personal privilege out of order, is just to say, because Charlie brought it up, I'm really looking forward to the Hall of Fame banquet on the 20th, because selfishly I will say one of my very best friends from the Malden High School class of 2005, Rachel Timmons, is being inducted, Rachel Timmons Henderson. And I think the only thing that would be more exciting, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out, is she and her wife are due to have their first child the day beforehand. So I think it's the only thing that's keeping her from hoping that baby happens that day, is that she can attend that Hall of Fame banquet and be there for that night. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you, Charlie, for all the work that you're doing, too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weldon. Our student representative. Let me just turn you on. There we go.
Thank you. As a high school senior, I think I'd be kicking myself a little bit if I didn't ask about the U Aspire program. We've heard a little bit about it in the high school, but I don't think it's gone much into detail. So I was just wondering, when will that begin to be available to students, and how will students and their families have access to the counselors?
Good. I appreciate you asking that question, because now I get 30 more seconds. So You Aspire as a program, they actually just partnered with DESI as well. They specifically have a person, we have a partnership with them, they come in 2 days a week. They, not unlike many other educational facilities, struggled to fulfill a new You Aspire partner for us. So they just hired someone about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They were training on all the financial aid processes, and they are starting next week. So next week we will have someone in the building 2 days a week in an office specifically. Also 5 days a week in our College and Career Center, B337, are two college and career advisors through AmeriCorps. So they can also work with you. But You Aspire in particular, they just struggled in September to find the right people for the right positions in their own way. So you are correct. You usually hear about them in September. So we're about 6 or 8 weeks a little bit further behind in terms of advertising their services in a way that is for all students all the time. But that coming on the 16th, Miss Mel will be there.
Really quickly, can I also ask, you said that they will be available for 2 days. Do we know what days of the week they will be there?
Tuesday, Thursday, 8:30 to 3:30, so that it actually coincides better with when students can hopefully make appointments. They also will meet with families and parents as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Anything further? Any other questions? Just from the chair, Principal Van, I'm not going to rehash what Mr. Waldo said. I guess what I would tell everyone here and people watching, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So just take a look at the pictures that the Salem Wood School presented here this evening, because like Mr. Waldo said, when we attended that fall festival, you would think after the year we were coming out of that, it might take several months, maybe years, for the school community to get back to where they once were. But that fall festival, it was almost like COVID never happened. I mean, the school spirit was very much alive, and I just wanted to pay tribute to you, Principal Van, and to the school community there for a job well done. I do have one request. I would like to meet with that student government board. So if you could put that meeting together, I would like to meet with them at your leisure, whatever works for your schedule. If I could, I'd like to have Ms. McCabe step forward. I just want to ask her two questions. One is, around the protocols you may be looking to change with DESE, what are those exact protocols that you may be looking to alter?
So for level 1 and 2 students, we have to teach 2 or 3 45-minute periods of ESL instruction with an ESL certified teacher. And so because of the shortage of ESL certified teachers, we're working to increase that internally by getting people dual certified so that we can look at that criteria and meet the compliance demands.
Let me ask you, does that at all speak to what the school committee has heard off and on, that level 1s and 2s being placed in a classroom has caused some challenges?
Correct.
Is that what you're referring to as well?
Correct. Families had expressed an interest to go to their neighborhood schools. And prior to that, Salem Wood was the school that received all of the newcomers. And because of our community changing and not having transportation for the program, that the Department of Ed said that we had to open that up to have the children attend their neighborhood schools because of the transportation issues and things of that nature.
So one of the things to answer the question is, when we learned that we were needed to place students, EL students in the neighborhood school, now we knew that we had to come out with a model that is approved by DESE, what is called push-in. You place an ESL teacher who has a certification to go into the classroom to serve for the 45 minutes to the students, or pull out the students for 2 periods of 45 minutes. Moving forward, we are already doing an analysis and projection of how many students we will have in each building, so we can start building the capacity of having ESL certified teachers. So we are encouraging teachers to go for dual certification. We are going to, I'm sorry, I have a hard time with the mask, but we are already going to start providing MTEL workshops for teachers who want to go and get the ESL certification on a special ed. We would love to have all our educators to have 2 or 3 different certifications, but that would be one way to start doing it for next year, when we know exactly how many students are going to be in the building, how many of them might be ELs, doing projections, and knowing what type of certifications our educators will need in order to serve the students in a different model, which would be an SEI model, which is standalone. It can be a push-in or pull-out. We would love to have a standalone because it's the most efficient thing for students, but we did this year, so lessons learned, and we do understand the challenges that it represents to do the pull-out or push-in services. But we are trying to see how we can get more ESL certified teachers to provide services to our students. But moving forward, we would love to have a standalone in every single school where our students will get a full day with teachers who are certified in ESL. So it is a strategy that we are already working on.
So are you saying that it is pretty much near certain that an ESL teacher is going into a classroom that has level 1 and 2, or are there classrooms that are getting no support?
No, all the classrooms are getting support by certified ESL teachers. It's just the way that we provide the support. In the past, children were pulled out of the classrooms and taught in a separate room for maybe 2 to 3 periods a day. So now we're trying full inclusion where the children are in the mainstream or general ed classroom with an ESL certified teacher, and maybe pulled out at the end of the day for some one-on-one support if it's a real newcomer that needs additional support.
And that has been the model as far back as you've been with the system, or is it changed?
There's been many models, there's been pockets of this sort of push in, pull out, and then the Salemwood had a standalone model, which was separate from all the other K-8s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Ms. McDonald, let me just ask you a question on that 504 position. It says in the report that the coordinator started this week. Why this week and not October?
Because we just found someone that we hired and were able to bring on board that was qualified.
Got it, yeah, because that's very qualified dependent, right? You have to have.
Yeah, you have to know what
Yeah.
you're doing as
Yeah.
far as running the meetings and the technical aspects of the regulations and laws.
Yeah, got it.
It's also a change in practice because it used to be the assistant or the principals holding the 504s, but knowing that's a big liability and no consistency across the board on 504s on what needed to be in the plan, and it's a legal plan, we decided to hire specific people to do the meeting, so there's consistency across the board, and also people who have experience working with students with medical issues and things like that. So we will have consistency on services, because in the past, people make their own decisions based on their knowledge, and the caseload of our assistant principals and principals has increased in terms of evaluation, and also more students in the building, so we needed to take that away from them.
Okay. In the preschool collaborative, what's the next step there?
So we continue to meet. We meet once a month. We also, all talk via email and different things. We are doing a play date that we're going to offer to all of our families as well as outside families. We're also going to do a couple of workshops with families, and then we're going to work on in January, a fair. We're going to do, actually it's going to be a 2-part fair. In the morning, we're actually going to do a job fair where we invite people to come in to, because all of the preschools in Malden are struggling as well with staffing, so we're going to do a job fair in the morning. Then we're going to turn it over and do a preschool fair for parents where they can come and say, oh, well, this preschool offers, 6 to 6 at night. This one has this. We have one preschool that is a dual language program, which might be really enticing to some families. So they can almost, like you go to a college fair and you shop around for colleges, they can shop around to the preschools and see what everyone has to offer and make an informed decision. And a lot of the other preschools also offer vouchers and reduced rates and tuition assistance for certain families. So we want to make sure that everyone has all of that information when they make their decisions for preschool, because, preschool is one of the most important things we can do for our students.
All right, thank you for taking that on.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Let's return to the agenda. And I don't see any subcommittee reports or motions we have to take up. So are there any points of personal privilege before we entertain a motion to go into executive session? So just so everybody here is aware, or who may be watching, executive session, the 3 items are the approval of the minutes from executive session October 4th. The second item is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with Unit C, because an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on our bargaining position. And the third item is similar, except it's with SEIU Local 888 Clerical Unit. So those are the 3 items that are on the executive session agenda. So if there are no points, we'll entertain a motion to, let's go to Mr. Gray. Yep, I see him. Mr. Gray, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say a few things. Number one, I'd like to wish everybody in Malden a happy Diwali. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Number two, I'd like to wish our honorable, happy Veterans Day to all who have served and sacrificed for our country. And last point, may all families come together in this season of Thanksgiving to find peace and celebrate happiness. Have a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Mr. Weldite. Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really quickly, I just want to actually thank the parents that I've met with and spoke to, and those that spoke in public comment today, that have been advocating so hard for healthy and nutritious lunches. It's my pleasure, and I'm thankful for the chair for giving me the opportunity to work, for the district to make sure these kids, I think it ties into.
We'll see if you feel that way in 7 months.
Probably. When we talk about health and wellness, just a big thank you to Ms. Mertz, who's been working with me weekly. And I also wanted to just give her a thank you. And I didn't get a chance to ask this during the Superintendent's Report, but the BB just got a wonderful new HVAC system to our building. And I know that these are going out to all the schools. Yeah. So I'm really, really excited that the funds that we receive from the ARPA. Okay. Are going to benefit, the students, the teachers, everybody inside these schools. And then just lastly, just a reminder, no school on Thursday for Veterans Day, as well as Mr. Christensen, Mayor Christensen will be visiting the BV school to speak to our lovely students on Friday. And then just save the date for parent conferences at BB, which will be on November 22nd, 6 to 7:30. It will be in person as well as virtual meetings. So you'll be hearing more about that. So thank you.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Ivino, you had a motion, I believe?
Yes, make a motion we go into executive session for the purposes of negotiations.
Seconded by Mr. Froyo. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Froyo?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Ivino?
Yes.
Ms. Luan? Yes. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Pettifor? Yes. Mr. Wildguy?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Okay, we'll now go into executive session. No.
Thank you so much to our interpreters.
Yes. Student rep doesn't come. No.
Recording stopped.
Send him a Venmo request. Leah, you joked, but this is the principal. This is my principal. I've been doing jeans, a shirt, and a coat lately. Move it away from the. All right, I'm gonna drop this down, but then I gotta.
I got a state rep out there with the president of the Mass State Superintendent. I think we're okay. Oh, yes. Very good. Everything that was said before, so well respected.
Oh yeah, who's been waiting? Oh, that's interesting. So tomorrow, yeah, going over to see the fire station.
What?
Going over to see the fire station tomorrow with Ron. So I'll be able to keep you posted for Wednesday. Oh boy. Look at that, 7:59 on the dot. My mic.
Okay, we'll entertain.
Recording in progress.
We're back from executive session and we'll entertain any motions. Mr. Iavino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve payment to six Unit C retirees, paraprofessional retirees for the 2020-21 school year.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Mr. Froyo? Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Iavino?
Yes.
Ms. Luong? Yes. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora? Yes. Mr. Waldo?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Spatafora, seconded by Mr. Iavino. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. School committee is hereby adjourned.